the DCEU's Joker movie, was it good or bad? So, as a guy who is primarily a fan of Marvel Comics and also as a guy who's never really been able to get into the DC lore, I must say that I very thoroughly enjoyed the Joker movie. Alright, so I came into this movie with the mentality of a non-DC fan, and I still enjoyed myself quite a lot. So to all my fellow Marvel fanboys out there, I just highly recommend you go out and give this movie a chance. Not everything that DC puts out is trash, alright? Yeah, like I actually really enjoyed myself as a big-time Marvel fanboy with the Joker movie right now. Before I go any further, I'm gonna let you know right now that there will be spoilers. So if you do not want to be spoiled, if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and click off this video now. Right, and done. So get into the plot. Alright, so just to start off, yes guys, this movie is very dark, very realistic, and also yeah guys, it has an R rating, so yeah, do not bring your kids in here. Okay, so just because the movie is a comic book, based on a comic book, does not mean that it's gonna be for kids. Alright, so start off, it goes like this. So you have your man named Arthur Fleck. I believe that's his last name, Fleck. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but he's played by, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name. Is it Jaquan Phoenix? I know that's how his name is written, but I don't know if I pronounced that right. So you got this guy named Arthur Fleck, played by actor Jaquan Phoenix, who did a really great job in my opinion. Alright, so your character Arthur Fleck is this mentally unstable man. Alright, he's talking to a shrink, he's on medications, he has to no smoke to calm himself down, the whole 9 yards, right? You got this story of this mentally insane man that gets worse, all right? Because there's this scene where his shrink says that they can't meet anymore because Gotham City cut their funding because they really don't care about people like him and her. All right, so starting off the plot, Arthur Fleck is a clown working at Ha Ha's. He's outside spinning a yellow sign trying to get people to go into the shop and buy, and then he gets attacked by these kids that steal his sign, and then he chases the kids into an alleyway, and one of these kids that they hide behind a trash can, and they have the yellow sign and they smash it into his face, right? It knocks him down, and then the other kids come and start beating him up while he's down. All right, so like this movie is just like a series of unfortunate events that Arthur Fleck, the mentally unstable man, goes through before he becomes the Joker. All right, like all these unfortunate events that happen lead to him come to his realization, and he just becomes the Joker. So back to the plot. So he goes back to his workplace. His co-workers find out what happened. So there's few co-workers, but the main two are like this fat clown and this midget clown. And those are the main two, and then there's his boss and like supervisor. I don't really remember, but I remember that the main two co-workers were the fat clown and the midget clown. Right, so the fat clown gives him a gun and he's like, hey man, it's a crazy world out here, you gotta protect yourself. And then Joker's like, yeah man, you know I can't have this. Yeah, but Joker ends up taking it anyway. And then he walks out. And so next scene, he's taking the bus home, and there's this lady and her kid, right? And the kid's turning around smiling at him, and Joker is just Arthur, he's making the peekaboo faces at the kid, and the kid is smiling and laughing. And then the kid's mom turns around and looks at Arthur, and she tells him, hey, can you stop bothering my kid? And like me and the rest of the audience were like, really? And then he apologizes. And so Arthur, he has this laughing condition, all right? So like whenever there's anything funny, like anything that triggers it, like he just starts laughing uncontrollably, all right? And so when the lady tells him to stop bothering her kid, his laughing condition gets triggered, and he just can't stop laughing. And then people turn around looking at him like, what the hell's going on? What's wrong with this guy? He just laughing like, And then he hands her his card, explaining to him his condition. Like he's trying to tell the lady his condition, but his laughing condition will not let him. He cannot stop laughing, so he has to hand her the card that says, "I'm sorry, I have a laughing condition. Yeah, please politely hand this back to me." While he's sitting there laughing all the way home. And so next scene, yeah, he's gotten into his run-down apartment. Yeah, he meets this girl in an elevator with her kid. I don't remember what the girl's name was, but she is played by Zazie Beetz. And if you don't know who that is, she's the same actress that played Domino in Deadpool 2. Alright, so basically you got Deadpool and Domino in an elevator. And in his head, he's like imagining this whole love relationship with her. Right, like the movie makes you think that it's real for a minute, but you later figure out that his love relation with the girl in the elevator was all just in his head all the time. There's this whole comedy trope where she's like doing the whole gun to her head thing, and then he laughs, and then he goes back to his apartment where he's taking care of his mom, and so he's taking care of his mother, Penny Flick. You know, it's a coincidence that her son's a lunatic, he's not right in the head, and also his mother is also not right in the head. Alright, so she's telling him about how Thomas Wayne is his real father, and he just left them, and she's over here filling up his head with all this stuff. Alright, and next scene, he's over here watching his favorite comedy show with the comedian Murray. I don't remember his full name, but also going on in his head, he's on the comedy show building a relationship with his favorite comedian Murray. Alright, and so goes into the next scene. I'm not going to be in order with all this because I've only seen it once. But, so he also wants to be a comedian. He goes to this jazz club, and like back to his in the head love relationship with Zazie Beetz. He sees her, he follows her into the comedy club. Then he has his clown makeup on, and he's on the stage telling jokes. And he's been writing down in his book, talking to his shrink. And he has his clown makeup on. He walks up on stage with his book, and then his laughing conditions triggers. He can't stop laughing, so he stops it like momentarily to like tell some really awkward jokes. And I don't remember how it goes, but like one of the jokes was like, my mom told me that I shouldn't hate going to school because one day I have to work for a living. And then I'm like, no, Ma, one day I'm gonna be a comedian. And then he starts laughing, but nobody else is laughing. But yeah, Zazie Beetz is there in his head laughing at him on stage. And he does another joke about something about people laughing at him. And now he's a comedian, but look, nobody's laughing now. And he starts laughing again, and then the scene ends. Then after that, he goes back to his job, and then he's got his clown makeup back on. And there's a scene where he goes into a children's hospital. I think it's like a mentally ill, like cancer patient children hospital, and he tries to cheer him up. And the gun that his co-worker, the fat clown, gave to him falls out. He has to pick it back up. He's looking at everybody like... And then his boss finds out about it. His boss finds out about the sign, and his boss tells him that he needs to get it back. But Arthur's trying to tell him that some kids took it and smashed him over the head with it, and his boss isn't buying it. And after that, scene at the children's hospital where his gun falls out, his boss finds out about it. He calls him on the payphone. And then the fat clown sold him out on it. Joker gets pissed, walks out, punches the clock off the wall. Joker tries to tell his boss that the gun was a prop, but Joker gets fired from his job. And then like next scene, he's taking a subway train home, and there's these three guys harassing this woman, like throwing fries at her, trying to offer some fries. And like one of the guys says, "Hey lady, what's wrong with you? This guy's trying to be nice. Come on." So they're throwing fries at her, and then the lady walks away, and then Joker's laughing condition triggers, and then the three guys turn their attention to him. And then they walk up to him. "Hey, you mind telling me what's so funny?" And Joker's laughing condition is so out of control that he can't tell them anything. He tries to tell them that he has a condition, but like right before he could really say anything else, one of the guys stops him. Hey, I know what you got right here. My fist in your face. So they start trying to hold him down and beat him up. Joker tries to kick one of the guys, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna try to throw kicks now? Right? Take some of these, all right?" So they're throwing him on the ground of the subway cart, beating him up, and then Joker pulls out his gun and shoots two of the guys. And then he wounds one of the guys with the gun, and he tries to get away. All right. Keep in mind, like Joker still has his Arthur still has his clown makeup on, so nobody knows who he is. So he chases the guy, like the guy that he chased, like almost escapes the subway, but Joker shoots him in the back of the head and kills him and escapes. All right. And of course, it makes the news the next day. The mayor and Thomas Wayne get on it, and they're putting these three guys out as these great people when you saw in the previous scene that they really were not great people, right? They were a bunch of douchebags harassing the woman. They beat up the clown guy that was laughing. They weren't good guys, all right? So later on in the plot, Joker's mother, she has a stroke, all right? And she goes to the hospital, and she's in the hospital bed, and Joker was talking to her, and Zazie Beetz was there with him, but it was all in his head. Remember that? The whole love relationship they had. Joker was talking to her about Thomas Wayne, how that's supposed to be his real father. And so Joker goes to visit Thomas Wayne, and he sees Bruce Wayne as a kid, and he sees him at the gate, puts his thumbs in his mouth and makes him smile. And then the butler comes and tells him to get lost. After that, well, hold on. Well, let me rephrase that. Well, in this scene, the butler tells him that his mother was a lunatic and that Thomas Wayne is not his real father, and that she used to work there and all that, but we had to let her go because she wasn't right in the head. Yeah, and he tells Arthur that you're her adopted son, and that there's no way in hell that Thomas Wayne can be your real dad. All right, so then Arthur later finds out, taking some files from this guy at the asylum, and he finds out the truth about his mom. Right, so he finds out that yes, she did adopt him. Yeah, she was lying about Thomas Wayne being his father, and that she also malnourished him and abandoned him. And she let her new boyfriends tie him up and beat him up so bad that he got brain damage. And that's why he had his laughing condition, because his horrible foster mom did not do a good job of taking care of him at all. All right, and so he finds out about this. And then the deepest scene, well, one of them, he goes into the hospital bed where his mother lays. He talks to her, and after finding out that it's her fault that he's the way that he is, he kills her. He takes the pillow from the hospital bed and smothers her. And then he says, "You know what? I thought my life was a tragedy this whole time, but I was wrong. It's actually a comedy." So he kills his mom. And then later on, he goes into his apartment. And then this is like where you find out that his relationship with Zazie Beetz was all in his head. So he after killing his mom, he sits in her apartment, and she actually knows who he is. And then he turns around and does the whole gun thing that he saw her doing in his head. And she freaks out because her little girl's sleeping in the room next door. And he leaves. And so next scene, he's got his clown makeup on, and his two co-workers, the fat clown and the midget clown, come visit him. They offer him some alcohol, and then they said, we heard about your mother. We're sorry about that. Right, and then they asked him, "Yo, dude, what's with the face paint?" And then Arthur says, "My mom died. I'm celebrating." Right. And then they get to talking about the guys that got shot and killed at the subway. And then they said they're still investigating about that. The whole gun that Fat Clown gave to Joker. And as they're talking, Joker remembers that it's his fault that he got fired from his job. And so he pulls this knife he had behind his back and starts stabbing the hell out of this dude. He stabs him in his eye, stabs him in his throat, and smashes his head into the wall violently, psychotically, viciously. And then the midget clown is just terrified. Right, he runs and hides behind some barrels in Arthur's apartment. and Joker just sitting there, out of breath, exhausted, and the fat clown's blood and brains is all over the floor and wall, and the midget clown is just terrified. And Joker invites him to come, but midget clown is just too terrified to move. And so when Joker says, "Hey, come on, man, I won't hurt you. You can leave." So the midget clown heads for the door, and Joker jump scares him, and the midget clown just starts running. And this is my favorite scene throughout this movie because it's funny and messed up at the same time. Yeah, but the midget clown is terrified trying to leave, but he's too short to reach the logs at the top of the door. And he's turned around just terrified, crying. Alright, so Joker gets up, lets him out, kisses him on the head, and says, "You know what? Out of all these people, you're the only one who was ever nice to me." And then he lets him leave. Alright, and after that, Arthur finally gets his comedy gig with his favorite comedian, Murray. Alright, and so he's on the show. He's not really cracking any jokes. Like he confesses that he's the guy in the clown makeup that killed those 3 guys on the subway. Oh yeah, guys, and also missed out. Joker's whole scene where he shoots 3 guys on the subway starts this kind of revolution with people wearing clown masks, rioting and rebelling against Gotham. Alright, so Murray was asking about that. Are you sure it's not some political statement? And so okay, so you say that you killed these guys on the subway. Is that supposed to be funny? Where's the punchline at? And then Joker's like, there's no punchline. He just says, people are awful. I found this to be very deep because Joker only says this because of all the unfortunate events that have happened to him, like the kids beating him up, the lady on the subway, the 3 guys on the subway, and his co-workers, and Murray himself, because that scene at the comedy gig where he was laughing, had his book out, tried to tell bad jokes. Yeah, Murray put him on blast for that and said, this is pathetic. And he says, "You know what? People are awful, and you're awful too, Murray, putting me on blast like that. And yeah, I killed those 3 guys on the subway, but they couldn't carry a tune to save their lives." Like, that was the only real joke that Arthur told, right? And so Joker goes crazy. He pulls out his gun, says, "You know what? Screw you." He shoots Murray, right? Blows his brains out on live TV. Everybody freaks out. Everybody runs away, right? And after that, the police come and arrest Arthur in his Joker clown makeup. And as this is going on, there's a riot happening with all people in clown masks, burning things, vandalizing, looting, shooting, the whole 9 yards, right? And one of the guys actually crashes the cop car, and I'm actually really surprised that Arthur survived that, because like the way the car crashed, he should have at least had several broken bones, broken leg, broken arms, but he did get out like barely able to walk. And then after that, one of the guys in clown masks shoots Thomas Wayne, and it goes back to the whole Batman backstory of his parents being shot and killed in an alleyway by a criminal. Young Bruce Wayne was standing there as the criminal shoots his father and then his mother. Alright, after that, Joker was dancing on the cars, and then it goes back to the insane asylum, talking to a shrink, and he starts laughing again with his laughing condition. Then he asks her, then she asks him, "What's so funny?" Arthur tells her, "I'm not gonna waste my time, you wouldn't get it anyway." And then he walks out of the room, and that's where the movie ends. Alright, so, guys, so just to briefly go over things I liked and didn't like, this movie was very realistic, alright? So it shows how realistically a person will become a radical, extremist kind of criminal, right? So this person has mental illness, right? Again, he's on medication, talking to his shrink, the whole 9 yards, and a lot of bad things happen to him. And he finds out the truth about his mother, her being the reason the way he is, letting her boyfriends beat him up, and she was malnourishing him. His life was a whole tragedy, and like he felt like he had like nobody that really cared about him. All right. The thing that I found weird, and again, guys, I'm not really like into DC lore like that, but I know that Joker was not a full-grown man while Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, was still a child. That's the one thing that I found weird. If I'm wrong, you just correct me in the comment section. Send me some source material, whatever. Yeah, but I found that weird. Yeah, this movie was extremely dark again. You don't take your kids to go see this. A lot of blood, a lot of guts, profanity, sexual themes. Yeah, guys, like just because something's a comic book and they're based on a comic book does not make it for kids. All right, so movie had a great plot, amazing story, amazing characters, amazing action, good music. Like there was some jazz music in the background, which I like, and that's pretty much it. I felt that everything was pretty solid. So my final verdict is I give this movie a whopping 9 points out of 10. Right? And again, guys, I'm a big Marvel fanboy. There's like very few DC characters and stories that I like, and with Shazam being one of them. All right, but I enjoyed this movie. I hope you enjoyed this review, guys. Tell me what you thought about it in the comment section below. Give me your opinions. Appreciate you guys for hopping on. See you guys in the next video.